Welcome back. This is Scott Dennison, and we are learning to market your business on the internet. And this is part 4, SEO, or search engine optimization. And the fact is, search engine optimization is a big deal. You probably get a lot of email about this from business providers or vendors, some of it coming from all over the world, people trying to sell you SEO. So when you wonder, why is this happening? Why is this such a big deal? Here's some numbers that I think are worth sharing. Earlier I mentioned that 86% of all online consumers use search engines to find local businesses. 61% of those searches result in a purchase. The problem is there's a lot of competition for that business. Well, how much? Well, consider this. According to Netcraft in their 2012 survey, there's more than 644 million websites. That's almost double the numbers that were published just a year ago. And every one of those sites wants to be ranked number 1 for their search category. Why the frantic desire to be listed first? Well, it's simple. The site listed number 1 will get on average between 35 and 42% of all of the visits, all of the clicks. And that means that all the people who search for a particular thing, around 40% of them are going to visit the page that's listed first. Well, if somebody's searching for the product or service you sell and they visit your site, you have the first shot at the business. Now, if you're not number 1, but instead you're number 2, you're going to get about 25% of the search traffic. And number 3 is only going to get about 15% of the search traffic. Big difference between number 1 and number 3. If you're found lower than number 5 on the first page of Google, you're fighting for scraps. The opportunity for big money is lost. And this is what drives the enormous amount of unsolicited emails that are sent every day from all over the world. These people are offering business owners like you a cheap and easy path to being listed number 1 on Google. But don't fall for it. You see, anyone who openly promotes that they can get your business on page 1 is telling you, they're communicating up front. Maybe they're not clear, but they are communicating that they plan to manipulate Google's process. And this is a clear violation of Google's terms, and it can get your site banned if the manipulation is blatant enough. Now, I don't want to make this too hard to understand. It's actually pretty easy to understand. There are 3 parts to SEO. The first are the on-page factors. The second are the off-page factors. And third is the social signals that your site gets. We're going to dive into each one of these. The on-page factors are totally within your control. These are things that you and your web team can improve on. And usually there's no downside to making these as clean and as well optimized as possible, so long as you don't overdo it. It is okay, and it's important to improve on your on-page SEO factors. The areas that are included in any on-page SEO are things like the title tag, the meta description tag, the alt tag, or sometimes called the alt text, the header tags, H1, 2, and 3, and then your keyword density. When you use a search engine and you pull up the results for your search term, you see each one of the results has a blue link at the top. So as you're looking down the page of results, the thick blue link at the top of each result is the title tag. And you have total control over what Google decides to show there. More importantly, the blue link is what searchers will click on, and when they do, they'll go to the page on your site that's associated with that link. it's very, very important that you and your team include the most important keyword in the title tag for each page. Now, the meta description is not part of what Google's looking at when they rank your site. It's not a major part of their process. But it's still really important that you get it right. The purpose of the meta description is to sell the click. So if you're searching and you've got a page full of results, many of them look to be the same. Well, the two sentences or so that are listed underneath of the title tag in search results are the meta description that you've provided Google with. And this gives you a chance to quickly sell somebody on choosing your site over the other site. So remember when we talked about the number of people that are, how the distribution of searches is. If you're number one, you get around 40%, number two gets 25, etc. If you're sitting at 3 or 4, but you have a clearly better meta description, you may not get as much, you may not be listed number one, but you might get as much traffic as the other guy simply because your title tags are better and your meta description is strong and it makes people want to visit your site, and so they click on you. Now, the alt tag or the alt text is associated with pictures or images, and they were originally used as a way for the people that search without images, to kind of understand what the image was about. It also was helpful to people that are visually impaired to be able to understand what the images are about, because a lot of the browsers for visually impaired people will read those terms, and so there's some clarity as to what the image on your page was about. The header tags are those subheadlines that you see when you're reading through pages on the web. So if you see a paragraph and then you see a smaller headline, a subheadline, usually those are associated with your header tags. And oftentimes they will use the same keyword that the page is about. That's one way of communicating to Google what those pages are about. Keyword density refers to the number of times that a keyword was used in the page, and there was a time when you really wanted between 2 to 4% of all the words on the page to be that particular keyword or related keyword phrases. Now we know that Google doesn't really want that as much, and in fact the science is changing so rapidly that the keyword density is probably going to disappear as one of the factors and be replaced by something else fairly soon. So you don't want 2 to 4% of the keywords to be, or the words on the page to be your keyword anymore. You want it to be closer to 1%. Really what Google is interested in, what they're after, is a quality user experience. And they desire to rank the best pages first so that their users will find them and use them and enjoy those websites. It's good for their business. Here's the thing, they're not at all concerned about whether your page is one of them or not. Just that their users get what they're looking for quickly, easily, and have a good experience doing it. So the next area of SEO is when you get into the off-page factors. And so once you've groomed all the on-page factors, we're going to get into those off-page factors, which is what are known as backlinks. And if you've noticed or you've read different sites and different blogs over the last year, you've probably noticed there's a lot of controversy in SEO these days, and most of it is related to building backlinks. You see, Google outright bans the practice as a violation of their terms of service, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. But here's the truth. If you focus on creating great content, and it's fully intended to meet the needs of people searching for the products and services you offer, people are going to link to it. they're going to share it with other people. Birds of a feather flock together, and if they're reading your content and they like it, they're thinking of their friend who might also like it, and they begin to share it. And that way you can generate links without trying. Now, if you use a cheap SEO worker who's building links for your site and they make one mistake, your site can disappear from Google search results. We have a client right now who was formerly listed #1 for an incredibly searched term, huge amount of searches every day for this term, and then some mistakes were made, and now his website is down around page 4. What used to be #1 and getting a lot of traffic every day is now page 4 and gets no traffic at all. The key to remember is if you use somebody who indicates that they know what they're doing, but then make a tragic mistake, you end up paying the cost of that. Typically in the form of losing your visibility. You're no longer in the top of the search results. My best advice when it comes to building links, create great content that's going to help your visitors. If you visit my blog, you're going to see us providing a whole lot of information about content creation. In fact, we've got a course, a free tutorial that you can get into. And if you go to scottadennison.com, you'll see it in the sidebar, a tutorial on content creation. So besides creating great content, focus on getting the on-page aspects of your SEO correct, and you'll generally be fine. After that, invest your time and perhaps even some money in creating even more great content that meets the needs of your audience. And you won't have to stay up at night wondering and worrying about your SEO. And that's the end of lesson 4 on SEO. We'll be back along shortly to discuss what other ways are there to get traffic to your website. See you shortly.